Okay, so did you hear anything in there that would lower the temperature, lower the anger in the West?
Well, I think that what we need to understand is that the feelings in the West right now are rooted in something very real. It's not a blind anger or a dislike of Confederation, but it's really rooted in very real concerns that people have. So think about Calgary for a minute. Albertans have sometimes complained about it, but always been secretly proud of the fact that our prosperity has helped the whole country work, and that we've welcomed people from every part of the country to come and live and follow their dreams in Alberta. And think about Calgary, where for many, 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 many years, we had the lowest unemployment rate in the country. We went from the lowest unemployment rate in the country to the highest in 18 months. That's pretty jarring, and it's pretty dislocating. And what we end up seeing is, as a result, people are saying, wow, something really profound is happening in our province and to our economy. And we don't feel like people really understand that. That people really think, oh, these people in the West, in Alberta, they're wealthy, they do well, they're just whining. But there's something very real there. So yes, it's absolutely true that separatist sentiment or Wexit, as I always say, Wexit, because Brexit is going so well. It's idiotic. But it's also based on something very, very real. And it's important that we understand the reality of that. And so that was really the message that I had for the Prime Minister today. And it's a message that was not new to him. It's certainly something he's heard before. But there has to be a conversation not just about changing the narrative, which is important, but also about very real action on the part of the federal government to help everyone around the country understand that the country doesn't succeed if the West doesn't succeed.
And was Mr. Trudeau's response any different? You say he's heard the message before, but I think it was Mr. Pallister who was here 1 or 2 weeks ago. It's all been blurred now.
It was last week.
Yeah, okay, thanks. And saying he heard nothing. It was the same, I guess, one-way conversation on both parts. Did you hear any nuance or differences? And did you discuss C-48 or C-69?
Yeah, so we had a very what's the right political term? A very frank and open exchange of views. But we really did. We had a very blunt conversation. And I wasn't expecting a magic bullet or a giant check today. That would have been foolish. But I was expecting a very open conversation about Bill C-48, Bill C-69, about other things that are important to Calgarians. The Trans Mountain Pipeline's getting built. It's underway in Edmonton today, and that thing's got to get done. And I asked and received a commitment that that is getting built. On C-69, I've written and spoken a lot about C-69. Right now, we have a major project in Calgary called the Springbank Reservoir. My premier calls it the No More Pipelines Bill, but it's much more than that. And that project has been stuck in environmental assessment hell for years. Even though under the existing rules, there is a 365-day limit in how long it can be stuck there, and it's been stuck there for years. And so it's very clear that the existing legislation doesn't work. It's very clear new legislation is needed. I think everyone in Canada agrees on that. Yes, absolutely. But let me finish. But the challenge is, does C-69 do that? Everyone agrees that you need to have good consultation, you need to work with Indigenous communities, you need to have good environmental assessment on major projects, and you need to move quickly, and you need to make sure you're not stuck in bureaucratic hell with millions of forms and thousands of pages, additional information that's requested. So certainly the Prime Minister believes that C-69 moves forward in achieving those objectives. I believe, and many people in the West believe, that the way it is currently drafted, it actually could make things worse. But I think everyone believes the current system doesn't work. So the real issue is, how do we make it better? And I believe that there is room there, and I will continue to press to find that room to create a system that fixes current flawed legislation, but actually makes it better, not worse.
En français. Qu'est-ce que vous avez entendu de la part de l'ouverture de M. Trudeau? Et comment vous espérez qu'il modifie ces 69 pour enlever cette incertitude?
Je crois vraiment qu'il y a beaucoup des idées de l'industrie, du gouvernement d'Alberta, de Saskatchewan, des autres, qui peut faire des changements positifs sur 69.
Mais comment?
Mais c'est des choses très techniques. Mais vraiment, des choses qui disent que la législation propre à ce moment ne travaille pas, ne fonctionne pas. Et donc, il y a une grande occasion pour faire de la législation qui fait un programme plus vite, qui aussi entend toutes les choses environnementales et aussi les choses autochtones sur ces projets, mais c'est une opportunité d'améliorer 69. 69 ne travaille pas.
On comprend que c'est votre opinion que C69 ne fonctionne pas. Pourriez-vous clarifier, est-ce que c'est aussi l'opinion du premier ministre? Est-ce que c'était aussi l'opinion de M. Kerr que C69 et C48 ne fonctionnent pas et devraient donc être changés?
Je ne veux pas parler pour le premier ministre ou pour M. Kerr, mais c'est évident que tout le monde partage la croissance que le 2012 législation ne fonctionne jamais, rien.
Tout le monde y compris.
Tout le monde comprend ça. Et après ça, la question est 69, c'est une amélioration ou peut-être c'est pire. Et on doit parler de ça et on doit parler de toutes les ouvertures pour améliorer cette législation.
Did he say, sir, that he's open to amending C69, or is he only open to advice on how to implement it?
He said that he is interested in improving the system and improving C69.
Well, what does that
That
mean
means
to you?
amending it, doesn't it?
That means that I will continue to be a thorn in the side to make sure that this thing works better.
Avez-vous l'impression qu'il comprend que la grogne dans l'Ouest est vraiment ancrée dans quelque chose de réel? Est-ce qu'il vous a dit quelque chose aujourd'hui et dans le Conseil des ministres hier qui semble comprendre vraiment ce qui se passe?
C'est absolument réel. C'est absolument.
Mais lui, est-ce qu'il le comprend?
Parce que, oh oui, absolument.
Qu'est-ce qu'il
Absolument, il le comprend. Il comprend que c'est réel. And I'm going to answer that one in English too, because I think it's important. Mais il comprend absolument, et c'est important. C'est la chose peut-être la plus importante pour notre pays maintenant. Et il faut avoir une vraie discussion sur toutes les choses de la nation du Ouest. So let me say that in English. So this stuff is real around Western alienation. It's important and it's real. And I know that everyone understands that, including the Prime Minister. And we've got some real work to do. You know, yesterday, the reason I'm in Ottawa, I'm happy to be meeting with the Prime Minister today, but the actual reason I'm in Ottawa is because I sit on the jury for something called the Global Pluralism Award. And we gave out these awards last night to 10 amazing people from around the world working on pluralism and on knitting societies together. And what that reminded me was that we've got something here that is incredibly special, but also incredibly fragile. And careless words and careless thoughts and angry deeds could easily rend asunder what has taken generations to put together in this country. It is dangerous and it is fragile, and those of us who believe in the promise of this country, who believe in the promise of diversity and inclusion and pluralism here in this country, have real work to do. We got to use our voices and we've got to use our actions to speak out for what's best for this country.
Est-ce que Mme Freeland est la bonne personne pour faire le pont avec l'Ouest?
Je crois que oui, parce que il faut rappeler qu'elle vient d'Alberta, elle vient de Peace River, mais aussi elle a beaucoup d'expérience avec des négociations. Et donc, comme maire, je suis toujours optimiste. Donc, je suis optimiste qu'on peut faire beaucoup de bonnes choses. I'll take one more question.
Can you just clarify, though, because it's a little confusing. What exactly did he tell you that he would do to change C69?
He did not say anything specific. I will continue to be a thorn in the side for that. But he did say that he was open to improving that legislation so that it actually makes life better from the flawed 2012 legislation.
Can I just clarify one thing? I know you
Yes.
said last question. In your
Oh, I
opinion,
never stick with
good.
last question.
Great news.
Terrible rule.
So you keep saying we need to improve C69 and
Yeah.
C48 but more C69. To
And I can
improve,
talk about C-48 as
to
well.
improve C-69, do you have to amend the bill? Or can it be done through the way that's implemented or through regulation?
I mean, look, I'm not a parliamentarian. These rules get confusing for me. In my mind, you got to amend the bill. But if there are things that can be done through regulation that achieve the same thing, I'm not going to get hung up on the parliamentary procedure of the whole thing. I'm hung up on the results.
Do you think you can talk about that as well?
Yeah, we did, and I don't mind mentioning that. I'm really bad at last question, aren't I?
I'm sure they're very happy now.
Yeah, look at the looks on those two faces. We gotta go. On C-48, listen. Obviously, it too is a flawed piece of legislation. It discriminates against some products versus other products. It discriminates against Canadian products versus foreign products. Also, there's no pipeline there right now. So it is actually banning non-existent tankers. And in my world, why would you bother on a piece of legislation that has such symbolic value but no actual impact? That said, you know, I asked the Prime Minister, look, if there really were a legitimate pipeline proposal that was going to northern British Columbia, a lot of people think C-48 bans all tanker traffic in British Columbia. Of course, it doesn't affect the Trans Mountain Pipeline. It doesn't affect the Port of Vancouver. It's for the north. And so I asked the Prime Minister, look, if there would be a legitimate pipeline opportunity such as the Eagle Spirit Indigenous-owned pipeline in that area, would your government be open to reconsidering the ban? And certainly, I didn't get as specific as an answer as I would have preferred, but certainly I got the sense that that is a conversation that we could have.
What did they say? What did they say?
Pretty much just that.
Does Alberta need more help moving away from energy full stop? Does it need a new transition to a different industry?
That's a really good question. And I think what we do in Alberta, and what we've always done in Alberta, is manage the existing industry while creating diversification. So when I graduated from university, not that long ago, I'm not that old, oil and gas accounted for 50% of Calgary's GDP. Before the most recent downturn, oil and gas accounted for 30% of Calgary's GDP, so from 50 to 30. So we've been diversifying all over the place without anybody even talking about it or noticing. However, the current situation really shows us that we have to support our energy sector. It's foolish to be a Boy Scout about climate change, which is real and important, and we got to work on it. But it's not about replacing a barrel of Alberta oil with a barrel of Venezuelan oil. And it would be ridiculous if we went through policies that simply displaced Canadian energy with fossil fuels from other places. So we've got to make sure that we are supporting our responsible energy sector, and we'll continue to do that. But at the same time, as a nation, we have to make sure that we're moving into new economy, we're moving into knowledge economy things. And Alberta's done a great job of doing that, but we could sure use some help. And I think the federal government understanding that economic development funds and programs spent in Alberta today will have greater return than any economic development you've done across the country anywhere else. You've got a wealthy place, a prosperous place, you've got a place with a great skilled workforce. So it really does make a ton of sense to tilt the playing field on economic development a little bit towards Alberta when it's always been tilted a little bit away from Alberta.
Pointé par la grève du CN, M. Nenshi, la grève du CN pour les producteurs de grains.
My goodness, it's like I'm the Prime Minister, we're all over the place today. Look, c'est très troublant. C'est difficile pour les producteurs d'énergie, aussi pour les productions agricoles en Alberta, au Canada, et j'espère qu'il y a une bonne résolution aussitôt que possible. That was about the CN strike. I'm sorry, in Calgary I always have to translate because everyone doesn't speak both languages. But ultimately, look, this is very troubling. It's difficult for the agricultural sector, it's difficult for the energy sector certainly, and all of us are hoping to a very swift resolution. And with that, thank you all.